Life is so short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want me to do it?
This morning, news broke that entertainment pioneer Mike Nichols died suddenly of cardiac arrest while at home with friends and family. Whoopi has a hard time putting into words, which is why I'm doing it for her, but this man meant the world to her.
Whoopi Goldberg's early life was anything but typical. Born in 1955, she grew up in a world marked by emotional turbulence and uncertainty. Her mother, Emma Harris, experienced a severe mental health crisis when Whoopi was only 8 years old. This tragedy would leave a profound scar on their family, altering the course of Whoopi's childhood. Emma was hospitalized for 2 years, undergoing electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, a treatment commonly used at the time for serious psychiatric disorders. Unfortunately, the treatment had devastating consequences. When Emma emerged from the hospital, she was unable to recognize her own children. This loss of connection between mother and daughter shattered Whoopi's sense of security and left her with an overwhelming sense of abandonment. The family's structure crumbled, and Whoopi and her brother Clyde were shuffled from relative to relative, bouncing between different households. This constant movement created a sense of impermanence, and Whoopi never quite felt settled anywhere. In the midst of this upheaval, she had to learn how to fend for herself emotionally. The young girl who should have been playing and forming friendships was instead dealing with grief, confusion, and the need to navigate the complexities of a fractured family life. This forced independence would shape Whoopi's character, but it also laid the foundation for much of the loneliness and emotional hardship she would continue to face throughout her life. A mother's crisis. The burden of responsibility. At just 8 years old, Whoopi Goldberg faced a tragic and traumatic experience that would change her life forever. One night, she discovered her mother, Emma Harris, attempting to take her own life. In a moment of unimaginable gravity, young Whoopi acted quickly to stop the tragedy from unfolding. She pulled her mother away from the oven, saving her life in a desperate and harrowing moment. This was a pivotal moment in Whoopi's childhood, forcing her to assume a role far beyond her years. She was no longer just a child, but a protector, a guardian to her mother in a time of extreme crisis. This incident marked Whoopi deeply. It not only shaped her understanding of trauma and responsibility, but also ingrained in her a deep empathy for people who struggle with mental illness. For most children, life is about growing, learning, and playing. But for Whoopi, it was about survival, responsibility, and protecting the people she loved. The experience of seeing her mother in such despair taught her that even those who should offer unconditional love and support could falter, leaving Whoopi with a sense of fragility that would continue to shape her relationships throughout her life. Whoopi later reflected on how this moment made her approach responsibility differently. She saw herself not just as a child who depended on adults, but as someone who could shoulder responsibility when needed. This sense of duty, combined with a profound awareness of human vulnerability, became part of Whoopi's emotional makeup. In many ways, it set the stage for the emotional resilience that would define her personal and professional life. Teenage struggles, isolation, and desperation. Whoopi's teenage years were marked by further turmoil and a deep sense of isolation. At a time when most teenagers are finding themselves and figuring out who they are, Whoopi was navigating a difficult period of personal and family instability. At the age of 14, Whoopi faced an unplanned pregnancy, a situation that compounded the already intense emotional struggles she was enduring. Faced with no support or access to proper medical care, she made the desperate decision to terminate the pregnancy herself. This risky and traumatic act marked a painful chapter in Whoopi's life, one that she would reflect on later with a sense of sorrow. but also a profound understanding of the limited options available to young women facing such a situation at the time. Whoopi has been candid about the trauma and emotional toll this experience had on her. The decision to end the pregnancy was not made lightly. It was a survival decision made out of necessity and fear. In her memoirs and public discussions, she emphasized that this was a painful moment of personal responsibility, born out of isolation and desperation. The lack of support, both from family and society, made her realize the profound impact of bodily autonomy and the difficult decisions women face when they are left without choices. This experience also laid the foundation for Whoopi's staunch advocacy for women's reproductive rights. Having gone through the trauma of a dangerous abortion, she became a vocal proponent of safe, legal access to abortion. Her activism in this area was born not only from her personal experience, but from a desire to shed light on the harsh realities faced by women who are often left without resources or support. Cocaine addiction, a dark chapter in Hollywood. As Whoopi's career began to take off in the 1980s, a new set of challenges emerged. Behind the scenes of her Hollywood success, Whoopi was struggling with a dangerous and escalating cocaine addiction. As her career flourished, so did her reliance on drugs, which she initially saw as a means to fuel her creativity, social confidence, and ability to cope with the pressures of fame. Parties and substances like cocaine and quaaludes were rampant in the entertainment industry during this time, and Whoopi, despite her professional success, found herself caught up in a culture of drug use and excess. Her addiction was a high-functioning one. Despite her drug use, Whoopi managed to maintain her career, appearing in films and gaining recognition for her unique comedic voice. But the toll it took on her personal life was immense. She was living in a constant state of self-deception, believing she could control the addiction while continuing to meet the demands of her career. However, as time passed, the cracks began to show. One particularly harrowing incident took place in a hotel room where Whoopi, high and disoriented, was discovered by a hotel maid with cocaine on her face. This moment of reckoning was a turning point for Whoopi. The realization that her life was spiraling out of control led her to confront the harsh reality of her addiction. With the help of her friends and family, Whoopi made the difficult decision to seek treatment and break free from her dependency on drugs. This chapter of her life was both a dark and transformative one, as it forced Whoopi to reckon with the depth of her pain and insecurity. Overcoming her addiction marked a significant turning point in Whoopi's life, and it became part of the resilience that would define the rest of her journey. Losing her brother. A heart-wrenching tragedy. Just 5 years after her mother's death, in 2015, Whoopi Goldberg faced another devastating loss: the sudden death of her brother, Clyde K. Johnson, from a brain aneurysm. For Whoopi, this was not just the loss of a sibling, but the death of someone who had been her co-survivor throughout their difficult childhood. Clyde, like Whoopi, had grown up navigating the same emotional turmoil and instability. The two siblings had shared the burdens of their early lives, a bond forged in the fire of their shared experiences. The loss of Clyde was a heartbreaking blow that reopened wounds Whoopi had worked so hard to heal. Clyde had been a constant in Whoopi's life, a confidant, a companion, and someone who truly understood her struggles. Their shared history, filled with both trauma and resilience, had created a deep connection that transcended the typical sibling relationship. Losing him was not just about losing a brother. It was about losing a connection to the very past that had shaped them both. For Whoopi, Clyde's death was a stark reminder of how quickly life can change. One moment, she had a brother who had stood by her side through thick and thin. The next, he was gone. The suddenness of his death left Whoopi grappling with the unpredictability of life, and with the reality that no matter how strong our bonds may be, they are never immune to the forces of time and fate. In her grief, Whoopi often spoke about the importance of cherishing those who are still with us. She acknowledged how easy it is to take loved ones for granted, assuming that they will always be there, and how profound the regret can be when they are no longer around. Losing Clyde was a painful reminder of the fleeting nature of life, and it compelled Whoopi to reflect on the significance of family connections. She came to understand that the memories of those we lose continue to shape us, even in their absence. In the years since his death, Whoopi has made it a point to honor Clyde's memory, cherishing the bond they shared and the lessons they learned together. The grief Whoopi experienced after losing her brother was not just about the sorrow of missing him, but also about the void left in her life. Clyde had been her link to the past, a companion who had been there through the most formative moments of her life. Losing him meant losing a part of herself, one of the few people who had understood her on the deepest level. Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming loss, Whoopi chose to find meaning in the memory of her brother. She spoke about how the lessons of resilience and survival that they had shared would remain with her forever, serving as a source of strength in her continuing journey through life. The emotional toll, the weight of loss, the cumulative losses of her mother and brother took an emotional toll on Whoopi, pushing her to confront the depth of her grief and the personal struggles that had always been a part of her life. In the wake of these losses, she found herself in a period of reflection, grappling with the complexities of mourning and the long-lasting impact of her personal history. The grief from these two significant deaths forced Whoopi to reckon with emotions she had long buried, emotions tied to her childhood trauma, her mother's mental illness, and the instability that had defined so much of her early years. Despite the immense sadness, Whoopi remained open about her experiences, sharing her grief with the world. She reflected on how the losses of her mother and brother left her with a deep sense of longing, but also with an understanding that life goes on, even in the face of profound pain. Through her journey of loss and healing, Whoopi began to see that grief, while often overwhelming, is also a reminder of the love we share with those we lose. It's a reminder that the bonds we form are not just about the time we have together, but about the lasting impact those relationships have on our lives. In interviews and public reflections, Whoopi often spoke about the importance of allowing oneself to grieve and process loss in a healthy way. She acknowledged that while grief can feel suffocating, it is also a necessary part of healing. For Whoopi, it was a process of acknowledging the pain while also finding ways to celebrate the lives of those she had lost. Her journey through grief became a testament to her resilience, and it underscored the importance of continuing to move forward, even when it feels impossible. A journey of healing, finding peace amidst the pain. Despite the immense sorrow Whoopi faced after the deaths of her mother and brother, she chose to keep going. She found solace in the memories of the love and resilience that both Emma and Clyde had embodied throughout their lives. In the years following their deaths, Whoopi became an advocate for acknowledging grief and finding peace through the pain. She encouraged others to honor their loved ones and to understand that, while grief can never truly be overcome, it can be a source of strength when we allow ourselves to process it in our own time. Whoopi's journey of healing was not about erasing the pain of loss, but about finding a way to live with it. Through the love and support of her friends, family, and community, she found a way to carry on with a sense of purpose. While the grief never fully left her, it became something she could bear, something she could use to deepen her understanding of herself and the world around her. In the face of loss, Whoopi Goldberg's resilience shone through. She learned that while the people we lose are irreplaceable, the love they leave behind is a force that can continue to shape us long after they are gone. Her story is a testament to the power of love, memory, and the importance of holding on to those who have touched our lives, even when they are no longer physically with us. Through her grief, Whoopi found a renewed sense of connection to her past, and through her strength, she continues to inspire others to find the same. A dark period of grief, flirting with despair. The cumulative losses of her mother in 2010 and her brother in 2015 plunged Whoopi Goldberg into a period of intense grief. At one point, she even flirted with the idea of suicide, overwhelmed by the weight of her sorrow and loneliness. For someone who had survived so much in her life, including childhood trauma, addiction, and personal struggles, this was a dark period where even her immense strength seemed to falter. The thought of ending her life was not a passing moment of weakness, but a manifestation of the crushing grief that had overwhelmed her. However, Whoopi recognized the impact her actions would have on her loved ones, particularly her daughter Alex. The thought of causing pain to someone she loved deeply was a wake-up call, prompting her to reconsider. It was in this moment of vulnerability that Whoopi found the strength to confront her grief head-on. Instead of surrendering to despair, she chose to honor her losses and remain present for those who depended on her. Whoopi's resilience through this difficult time showed the world that even in the face of immense pain, it is possible to find meaning in life. Her decision to move forward, despite the overwhelming sadness, became a testament to the power of human connection and the importance of holding on to hope, even in the darkest times. Whoopi Goldberg's legacy, a story of resilience and survival. Through all of her challenges, Whoopi Goldberg has emerged as a figure of resilience. Her story is one of triumph over adversity, and it serves as an inspiration to anyone who has faced personal struggles. From her difficult childhood to the heartbreaking losses of her mother and brother, Whoopi has never given up. Her ability to continue moving forward, despite the darkness that has often surrounded her, is a testament to her strength and resilience. Whoopi Goldberg's life is a story of survival, and her message is clear. No matter how deep the sorrow, there is always hope for healing and redemption.